Hey guys, Kev here, and I have some reviews to do for you, rapid style, right? We have four knives, the Urban EDC Supply Nessie here, the Civivi Perf, that I hate, the TwoSun TS300, I believe it's 300, and the Miguron Keryx. So those are the four knives we're going to get into today. I'm going to start on the left and we'll move our way over, okay? Some of these are going to be quick because I hate them. And some may take a little longer. So this is the Urban EDC Supply Nessie. This is a pre-order I did in the spring or summer. It came in last week or so. And it's cool, right? It's cool for what it's made for, whatever, I guess. I'm going to steal this from Shane Gables, aka Pocket Knife Review. Does it do what it's made to do, essentially, right? Like, what is this knife made for? And does it do that? Because that's a lot different than, this knife sucks because I like knives with holes, and I like knives that drop shut, but this doesn't, right? This does, but I'm just saying, like, I like knives on washers. This has bearings, so this knife blows, right? And I get caught up in that too, guys. Like, one of the things I don't like about this knife is that it's flipper only. But when I spent the $270 on it, I knew it was flipper only. So why am I complaining now, right? Like, so I totally get that argument to almost every review I've done, right? But at the same time, I'm just giving my opinion on the knife as is, and if that bothers me, that bothers me, right? So it's kind of hit or miss. Anyways, $270 with titanium. They currently are going to be dropping tomorrow my time, so it's probably going to be gone by the time this posts. They're dropping a Segaha or Segaha pattern one from Urban EDC Supply. It's got that wave pattern, Japanese style. They have green micarta, I believe, and JG10 were the other options. This was $270. I think those were $240, or like $240 and $250, something like that. And then I'm pretty sure I saw a natural micarta one drop the other day somehow. I'm not sure. Maybe it was natural they had to begin with, not green. I don't know. But they were selling these literally right after the drop. That's one thing that bugs me about Urban EDC Supply and a lot of companies / retailers. And guys, I'm an affiliate with Urban EDC Supply. I have a link down there that you can click. And if you buy anything, I get 10% commission. That all goes back into the channel, okay? You don't get a discount. I've been working on that. No luck so far. But I'll be honest, even though I'm an affiliate, I don't like the way they do pre-orders. They'll do the pre-order, like I paid $270 in the spring. Well, to be fair, I paid, I think, $125, and then I paid the other half, or the other portion, 100 and whatever it is, $40. I can't do math. Yeah, $139 I paid like 2 or 3 months ago, right? I paid the remainder. So they allowed that. They also had pay in full, whatever, right? But I paid that in the spring, right? Or early summer. And I think it was more like the spring, right? It was around Blade Show, I think. And then the knife ships like 2 weeks ago. I get it. And I'm showing it off on Instagram. And I have people in the comments saying, I'm still waiting on mine to get here, right? They pre-ordered it and they were still waiting on their shipment to deliver. Well, that same day, it was last Wednesday, Urban EDC does a gear drop every Wednesday. They dropped the remainder of what they had, I guess, right? They did a drop because they obviously didn't order just what was pre-ordered. They got extras to sell because obviously, you know, a knife comes out and then people want it. You want to have stock. That's smart business, right? Just ordering what's pre-ordered is kind of dumb, in my opinion. But they sold it for the same exact price I paid. Before some people even got their pre-order in, they were selling them for the price that person paid, and it shipped immediately. I absolutely hate that. You can go see my pre-order Knife Rambles pre-order. Arcane Design does that. I think EDC does it, but the way he does it is he makes it more expensive. I appreciate that. Just tack on 10 or 15 bucks. Like, I paid $270. I basically loaned you $270 to get a knife 8 months later. And then somebody else can buy it that day for the same price. Obviously the benefit is you're guaranteed the knife. That's how these retailers and companies are looking at it. That's what you get. You get a guaranteed knife, right? They're not thinking about it the way I am. But to me, you got to give me more. You got to give me a coin. Give me a t-shirt. Give me something extra with the knife if you're going to charge the same amount on a drop a week later, right? And some people didn't even have theirs yet. I don't know. That just bugged me. I love Urban EDC Supply, guys, and I did mention this to my contact there, Matt, and I'm sure he took it up with whoever, and maybe they'll change something. Just make it more expensive or give me an extra thing with it so that I feel special for pre-ordering it. Why else am I giving you the money that early, right? I don't know. I want something for that other than just the knife when I could have just bought it last week anyway, So, anyway, I'm going to shut up. Aesthetics. I think this thing's gorgeous. I love the look with the Nessie blade, the handle. I love the monochromatic look. I have the F5 in this look, so it's going to be cool to have them both side by side at some point, hopefully before I sell it, because I am selling this. I already have a buyer lined up, just waiting on them to send the money or whatever. So I'll explain why, obviously. But aesthetically, I think it's a beautiful knife. I think the clip is a little basic, sort of squared off looking. But it kind of works. Same with the flipper tab. Kind of just looks weird. Like it was just added on or something. The jimping is non-existent. There isn't any. And it can hurt a little bit after a while. So there's that. Ergos, man. This thing is supremely comfortable. This is one of the most comfortable knives I've handled recently. It just, because it has that thickness. In hand, it just feels really good left-handed. Right-handed, that clip just is flat, feels really good. This thing would be an excellent, hard-use knife because you're not going to, feel it after a while. Your fingers aren't tightly wrapped or anything. It's just very comfortable. The jimping up here is good. It's very smooth in terms of, normal jimping, but to me, it works pretty well. Yeah, so ergos are fantastic. I mean, if you have a giant hand, maybe it's, going to be too small. But I think it'll fit an XL hand pretty well. Carry, that's the thing, guys. It's a little heavy. It does have milling on both sides in there. Pretty extensive, honestly. But it's thick. Another aesthetic thing I love is this black micarta backspacer. So unique, and I love it. Honestly love it. Some people say that cheapens the knife. I think it makes it look better. Adds a little touch, not just having titanium everywhere. And it reduced the weight. That might have been the idea there. It is dead centered as well. But carry, it's kind of tall, it's thick, and it's kind of heavy, honestly. But the clip works well, and it carries well other than the fact that it's, bulky. You know what I mean? I can show you compared to the Stinger here. It is a lot thicker than a Stinger, right? Compared to the Kubi Royale with cheese, it's about the same, but the Kubi is deceiving because of the contour and the milling on it. This does not feel at all as thick as that does. In hand, anyway, right? I do have a Deca here, so I can show you that while I have it. There you go. So, it's a pretty thick knife. It's not ultra thick, but it's definitely thicker than average, I would say. Here, let's compare it to the Chavez. That's a good comparison, because that's a thick knife. Yeah, there you go. They're about the same thickness. So if that helps you, a Chavez knife is pretty thick, guys. And they're about the same thickness. These are pretty cool together. Let's take a look. Look at that. That's a cool combination right there. Here's a size comparison. This is a street. So this is 3.25. This is going to be a 3.5-inch blade. Hope that helps, guys. All right. Cutting. So it has a flat grind, but it's a tall blade. So it comes down to a thin edge. And this thing is an excellent cutter, guys. Jesus. It's got a sticky edge on it. I've really enjoyed it. I haven't done much with it. It does have a stone wash, which is nice. And then it has horizontal satin up here. Maybe even hand satin, not sure. But that stone wash looks good. At first, I was kind of disappointed in that, but I think it actually looks really good with the knife, and it functionally makes sense to have a stone wash on this guy, right? It is supremely comfortable, so cutting is just very easy, and it's got weight to it, so it glides through stuff real easy. You can kind of choil this, but the way this flipper is just cornered, it just hurts kind of, right? But I cut some paper, cut open some packages, and I cut a little bit of cardboard just to see how it was, and it's absolutely fantastic. But I didn't go much further with that because I knew almost immediately I was going to sell this knife. And again, we will get to that. So that's cutting really good. I think this thing would be an excellent sort of like backup or like your primary folder for outdoor stuff. Probably be better to get my Carta or G10 in that case. The titanium doesn't make as much sense, but you know, it's up to you. Obviously, this titanium one may be more of a collection piece for people, like not something you're gonna hard use. You know what I mean? But if you really wanted to use one of these out like camping or something, I think it would be excellent. Obviously, you'd want to have your fixed blade as your primary, but this would be a good folder to have as a backup. You can, hold it in various grips. It's comfortable in most of those grips, except for this sort of choked up grip. This is comfortable, and you have so much of this fat Nesmuck blade that you can grip it sort of anywhere you want to do more detailed stuff if you wanted. If you were slicing something like, I don't know, meat or whatever. I'm not a camper, so I'm not going to act like I know what you guys do out there. I haven't been camping in a while, and when I did, it was, a Friday night crushing beers in the dark, just piling firewood on a bonfire type camping. It wasn't like real camping, but I really do think this would be excellent for that case scenario. Sounds. They're pretty good. It's got, because of the milling, it's got some good acoustic. I'd give it a 6 or 7 out of 10. Nothing crazy, but not average. It's better than average. I like it. So action. The detent is pretty good. It's pretty poppy. It doesn't quite make the pop sound, but it's close to doing that. And this is a heavy blade, guys, right? So this flipper tab, though, is kind of pointy, but you do get used to it. And the detent is on point. I mean, it's Riot made. If I just break the detent, it fires out, right? Push button, you can kind of do. It's sort of an awkward push button, but it works. And then you're better off just doing a light switch, right? But it kind of reminds me of a Holt Haptic in a sense, or a Holt Blade Works knife, where it's just got that like sort of sharp corner to it right there. It's not sharp. It's obviously machined down and chamfered or whatever, but it's a point sort of situation, right? So constantly flipping it, eventually your finger gets a little sore. If, you're a baby like me, right? I know some of you probably have man hands and it's fine, right? Whatever. To each their own. I'm just saying, for me, it can hurt after a while, but I think after a few days of like flipping it a lot, right? Like I've had it for, I don't know, a week and a half, 2 weeks, maybe. But like I've been carrying it for maybe, there was like 4 days where I carried it, right? And after those days, like, it's not, I think I got used to it now, if that makes sense. It's just like anything. I feel like you build up muscle memory, sort of. I think your fingers do the same thing. They get used to whatever it is. So, anyway, that's the opening action. Closing, drop shut. This is on stock bearings. I have not touched the pivot. There's no play, no rock. Drops to your nail, bang. I would not recommend having it swing all the way down because you're just going to get smacked with a heavy blade. Better to just let the flipper hit you and let it drop. Now, the detent brake is right here. Right there. The brake or the end of the ramp, whatever you guys want to call it. So that's where it is. We can compare that to the 229 again, not the 229, the Street, which is utterly terrible. That brake starts right there. I mean, it's brutal on this knife. That's the one big issue with the Street for me. And then if you want to compare it to like the Goat here, another Riot, that brake is right there. So it's a bit earlier on that. Here is a Quiet Carry Drift. Again, right there. So it's in the wheelhouse of normal, if you know what I mean. And for a flipper, as long as it breaks before, that flipper tab hits me, I'm fine, right? If it were to hit me like right here, and then I let go, and then it's stuck on the flipper tab, or on the detent, then it sucks, right? But this guy hits you in the nail, and it's already passed, right? And left-handed, you just pass over right away. I've never kind of got it stuck, you know. It breaks early enough that I'm not doing this. So I have no problems with where the detent is. I just like to show that because I know some people care. Overall, I think this is a cool knife. I think it's a great, you know, sort of heavy-duty sort of knife. Camping EDC, working man's EDC type deal. It's just not for me. That's not me, right? I don't like thick knives. I don't like super heavy knives. I have, obviously, exceptions, but for the most part, you won't see a lot of those in my collection. So, this is moving on. But it's a cool knife. That is the Urban EDC Supply Nessie, and we're down one knife, and it's been 17 minutes. Holy shit. So, next up, we have the Civivi Perf, which I'm going to be quick about. I hate it, and I hate it. This is a money grab. Apparently, this looks a lot like the Gerber Paraframe, and basically, they're just trying to capitalize on nostalgia. That's really what I'm going to tell you about it. It's Nitro V, and it's probably like $60. It's a steel frame lock, which, you know, whatever. Aesthetically, it's ugly as sin. I don't like the Paraframe either. It's a steel frame lock with holes all over it that are triangles. Or different shapes, whatever you want to call them. Knife Nerdery can tell us in the comments what these all are. Paradigms and paragons and whatnot. You have a bead blast because they're lazy, of course, as usual. We have Nitro V, which I've heard varying information on. Some people love their Nitro V. Some people hate it. Jared Neve really likes their Nitro V. Gideon stuff, he does not like their Nitro V. So, I don't know. I've had it on the Stinger, and for the most part, I've enjoyed it. But let's be real, guys. I don't use my knives enough to really get an understanding of steel, except on a few, like the 80-20.5 that I've used a good bit, right? There's just knives that are in my collection, and I have so many that, like, they rotate, and it's just hard. You know, sometimes they get sharpened before they ever even are close to needing it. Anyway, I've always liked Nitro V. I have it on a custom Pearson fixed blade, and I really love it on that. It's a kitchen knife I had made for my wife, and we love that knife. But that's a kitchen knife, and it's down to like 8 thousandths behind the edge, so, you know. Anyway, aesthetically, it's ugly as fuck. It does have a reversible deep carry budget clip, as usual. Ergos. It's a little small in the hand, and I hate the holes. I mean, you just feel them everywhere, right? It's just hole, 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 hole. You guys know I hate speed holes pretty much on any knife. You can kind of do the flipper choil, but it's a little too short to get close to that edge, so no thanks on that. The flipper tab is comfortable. That's the one thing I love that they do on their flippers. They do a great job with the flipper tab. Carry, you got the budget clip that's not recessed, but the screws are pretty good. It's better than Kubi's. I never have an issue with Civivi's not going all the way in pocket like I do with Kubi's, even though it's literally the same. Like, you see how it's not recessed and the clips or the screws are. But, oh, I can tell you exactly what it is. The clearance. So you can see the clearance on the Civivi clip is higher than the clearance on the Kubi clip. So there's the answer. That's why I don't have issues with these and I do with these. Huh, cool. Yeah, so that's Carry. It's lightweight. I mean, for stainless steel, it's pretty light. It's still heavier than I think it would be looking at it, but that's because it's steel, obviously, right? I believe this is their second steel frame lock. They had the Knox, I believe, first, and then they had this, the Perf. Cutting. I'm going to be honest, guys. I used this like twice. I opened a box and cut some paper. I hate this knife. I didn't want to carry it, so I really didn't. That's me being honest, guys. It has a edge on it from somebody, I believe, because it's kind of shimmering there. And it feels really, really sharp. So I don't know if Ian... shout out to Ian, by the way. He loaned this knife in to me. So ENG-EDC, I'll link below if I remember. But he's linked in the past videos as well. But yeah, I mean, Civivi always does a good job. Thin stock, great grind, a flat grind. It's kind of got a Brad Zinker look to the blade, right? So I'd say cutting is going to be really good just based on experience, you know, with other knives from them. Cutting carry sounds. It's a shitty frame lock. It's decent, right? Decent sounds. I give it a 6 out of 10. Maybe a 7 with deployment because it's pretty good. Action. This is where this knife absolutely just falls flat on its face. D10 is poop. The D10 is absolute poop. And that's because something is up with this lock bar. It is way too stiff. You can see the lockup's pretty good, but this thing is just like hard to push out of the way. It reminds me of the Elementum frame lock I just had in, which I hated. Like, you can't even push this enough to get the blade to kind of drop all the way, really. The detent break is it's okay. I mean, it's relatively early there, but there's no ramp or anything, so it's a hard break. And the lock bar's so stiff, it's hard to get past that because you got to push it so far over. And maybe I'm just weak. I don't know. But it's just a pain in the ass to use. And it hurts. It honestly hurts my thumb to use, so I don't want to use it. And the detent sucks. If you give it gas, it does seem to feel pretty good. Like, it's still sort of satisfying in a weird way, even though the detent is shit. And part of it, I think, is it's just tight in the pivot. So it could just need adjustment, but it's already got blade play, so I don't know what I would be able to do. Closing action sucks. It is dead centered, so give them points there. Yeah, that's really it. I hate this thing. That's it. All right, done. TwoSun TS300, another knife that I thought looked good in pictures, but in reality, I don't like it as much. The clip is utter poop. I carried this like 3 times, and I think it fell out of my pocket one of those times. There's like no retention, and it's a tapper. I just hate these type of clips. This clip just feels weak. I mean, I don't know how to explain it, but it literally was like on the verge of falling out of my pocket when I bent over one time because it has no retention. Like, you see that? There's just nothing stopping it from slipping and sliding in your pocket. So I absolutely hate this thing. Probably needs to be bent, but then you're going to have that thing probably you know, causing issues. I don't know. So there's that. Anyway, aesthetics, it looks better in video and picture. In real life, it looks kind of Cybertruckish and kind of dumb, to be fully frank with you. Sorry. I had to get a sip of my Dr. Pepper cream soda. Yeah, it just looks kind of weird. I really thought I was going to like this Tanto, but it's just a little too Tanto. Kind of like the Arcane Design Necronaut. But that's trying to be ridiculous. You know, I don't think this necessarily is. I do like the pill-shaped hull. Titanium frame. I really like the pivot. It's got this huge pivot with a pivot collar. It looks awesome. The clip looks good. I do hate clips with kind of points, but it's not that bad on this. And it's got the satin, which is nice. This one's in 14C, 28N. Yeah, I don't know who the designer is. Doesn't say anywhere, so I don't know if that means it's in-house. But yeah, ergos. It's very neutral, you can see, right? But it feels a little weird back here. It's just not, I don't know. It's okay. It's just kind of squared off a little bit. But if you choke up to this flat right here, it is really comfortable, I gotta say. It's a little slippery up here on the spine. It doesn't grab you that much, but it's okay. You know, it does have the setup so you can do a reverse gas station, Friday night gas station fight grip. So, you know, if I need to sneak up on a dude, right, I can just tuck it like this. And then when Ernesto comes out of the gas station with his Slurpee and he starts talking shit, I can just, what's up, bro? Wata! What's up, Ernesto? Right? And then I got this tip right here. I mean, this thing, that would fuck somebody up. Anyway, I don't condone any of that shit. I'm just joking, obviously. Friday night gas station fights is a joke that I kind of have as a running joke. And yeah, hopefully you know that if you're watching me. So anyway, you have a hollow grind back here and a flat up here. Satin grind. Where were we? Ergos. They're okay, right? Cutting. Yeah, it's good. I mean, it's got for me, a thin edge with this hollow. I just don't like these type of Tantos, again, referencing the Necronaut, because what you end up with is just not enough blade length on either edge, right? And I'd rather just have a normal Tanto where it's out to here, and then you have the little tip up here, right? So, like, I just think this knife would be way better in that case. But cutting's definitely good. It's definitely going to do the job. The tip is up pretty high, but you have this secondary tip if you want to get into packaging and shit. You're definitely going to get penetration with this sucker, so... but I wouldn't use it. Like, this knife would suck for trying to, like, pop a zip tie, in my opinion. You know, you try to get, like, behind it, twist it, and pop it. I mean, you would just... It would be a nightmare. That tip looks a little janky right there, doesn't it? See that? That wasn't for me. Ow, shit. I think it's ready to, like, break off. Oh, what the hell is going on there? I don't know. I'm sure Jared can fix it. It's his knife, but I didn't poke anything with it. I'll tell you that much. Carry, I talked about the clip sucking ass, and that's basically the carry. It's pretty lightweight for its size. It's got a little heft to it, but they're thin scales. They're not milled out, but again, they're super thin. And I think that's what leads me to something I'm going to mention later about it feeling cheap. But yeah, carry's okay, other than the fact that the clip sucks. Like, if the clip didn't suck, it would be okay, because it's not super tall. It's not super, you know, thick or anything. It's actually a pretty slim knife. It's not uber heavy. It weighs a good amount, like I said. I don't know what I said. What did I say? Did I say it was light? Because it's got some weight to it for sure, but it's just not light. I mean, it's just not heavy. I think it should have been milled out a little more. It's got this interesting finish on the inside of the scales. I don't know if that comes through. Is it only on certain areas? Like, look in there. You see that? Shit, how do I show you this? See that on the lock bar? Kind of looks like carpet or something. I don't know. It's just on the lock bar. I don't know what that is. There's the TwoSun symbol. What does that say? TwoSun. And then it has a logo. Hold on. I don't know whose logo that is, and I know you can't see it, can you? Oh, there. Somebody tell me who that is. TwoSun and that logo. All right, cool. We got to the bottom of something. All right, so that was that. Sounds. Oh, sorry. You know, I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10, and part of that is it kind of has this cheap sound to it. I know that's weird and it's hard for me to explain, but it just sounds cheap. I don't know if it's because I'm hearing every bearing as it rolls through. Now, this might need to be cleaned or whatever. I see the steel washers. It almost looks like it's on steel bearings, but that would be weird. Really does look like it's on steel bearings, but they do have this kind of washer racing bearing race kind of thing going on, so it could just be that. Yeah, just, I don't know. Just has a cheapo sound to it. It's hard to explain. Also kind of feels like it too. Action. So you can see it drop shut pretty damn good, right? And left-handed, you can climb down enough on the lock bar. You can reverse flick it easily. You can lock it up if you get too high on here, but you can always go on the pivot. You know, you have options. You have a thumb flick left-handed. You have a slow roll left-handed, right? So you can do all the things. Right-handed, you can slow roll it. I'm bad at that because I always get on the lock bar. Reverse flick right-handed is where this knife is at, dude. Just awesome. So I see why Jared likes it so much, right? And it dropped shut. But at the same time, it kind of has a cheap feel to me. I don't know. There's no play of any kind. It just feels, and it could just be solely that it's dirty or something, but it just feels cheap. The lock bar, this is what I say about TwoSuns, man. The lock bar just feels like too loosey-goosey, you know? Didn't I say that yesterday? I did another set of these yesterday, and I think I said that about this. Yeah. They just feel loosey-goosey on the lock bars, like just too soft almost, right? Whereas, like, let's just look at this Miguron right here. Like, that just feels smooth, and it slides over, but it doesn't feel like I could shoot it across the room, you know? These feel like I can just keep bending that lock bar endlessly, and it would just snap off. Now, there is an over travel in there, I believe. You hear that? I don't know. The lock bars feel cheap on these. Whereas this feels so good. Like, I can't explain it, but the build quality, I used to think TwoSuns were like a bargain when it comes to their build quality. But lately I'm noticing it seems less and less so. Like, this feels like a bargain, right? I don't know what these cost, but I bet you it's not like absurd, right? It's probably like $200 for S90V and this incredibly milled titanium. I mean, just look at this thing, right? And the action's on point, and it just feels premium. Feels premium. This feels like a budget knife with premium materials, if that makes sense. And TwoSun just cannot get clips right. I mean, Jesus. And a clip makes a knife or breaks a knife for me a lot, guys. Like, if I can't carry it right, I'm going to probably get rid of it. Here's an example of that. The Lucas P. I actually bought one of these now. This is a loaner. But I had to put this clip on it for me to decide that I wanted one. Otherwise, it's an absolute gem, this thing. But I had to replace the clip. And TwoSun is just like, I don't know. It's like they don't care about the clips. They just design. Like, it's all about the design, right? That's how it seems with TwoSun. And I always say They have no soul, like, design-wise. Because none of their designs ever, like, really speak to me. This knife is incredible, by the way. But it's like they put that first. They put the design first and then function after. And that's what bugs me, I think, about them. So anyway, that's the... did I cover everything? Yes, I covered everything. That's TwoSun TS300. And then we have another Miguron. So I just showed that one that I was saying is so well built. And I have to concur that on this one, it's the same, right? It just feels premium. And I don't know what these cost. Again, probably like $200. But it just feels way more premium, way more put together. Just everything comes together a little bit better on these than the TwoSuns. And I gotta say, I like the designs better of these two Migurons. Again, I'll pull this one out. I just reviewed it, but the Keryx and the Keryx, I mean, these designs are way better than anything I've seen from TwoSun. Sorry, Jared, and everybody who loves TwoSun. I know. I'm an asshole. But yeah, you combine that build quality. And it's so funny because if you had asked me a month ago before Jared sent these what I thought of Miguron, I'd say, ooh, I'm not sure because of the experience I had with the Pagos or the Pagos. You can go check that video out. It did not go well. I ended up having to return it because the inlay was falling out. The clip was all over the place, all loosey-goosey. How's this one? Yeah, I can move it, but it's better. It's not a big deal. I may have harped on that clip thing a little too much with the other one. It wasn't sharp. That was one of the things that really bugged me. This is sharp. Sticky sharp. Now, this could be a Jared Neve edge, but I'm pretty sure they paid attention when that happened. Anyway, you're dead centered. And aesthetically, I think this thing is sexy, guys. It's basically a large whippersnapper from a Lamech. I'm not saying they copied them. I'm just saying that's what it looks like. And I love the looks of that knife. So this is awesome. I love it. Love the speed holes. Normally I hate them, but they're not in my way. You know, I do wish that bottom one was a little bit smaller, but I can't quite get my finger in there, so I can't chop it off. A la Brian Brown Raptor. Aesthetically, I don't like the flipper tab, and I don't like the flipper tab in general. I will get to that. I do wish they had done a non-coated blade. I do think a new version is coming out where they toned down that flipper tab, and they do have uncoated blades, I believe, which is cool. I'll definitely get one of those if that happens. I'm definitely on the lookout for Miguron now that I've done these reviews. I'm really liking their build quality. So I'm impressed with what they're coming out with. So yeah, aesthetically, this one's good. It's got that cool carbon fiber right there. With a Miguron pivot is dope, and you don't have a bunch of billboarding. This one's an M390. I don't know much about their heat treat, but Jared seems to like them a lot, so I think it's probably pretty good. Nice backspacer, good hardware, just all around. I'm liking the build. Ergos. So it's very comfortable in this back grip. And then you have this choil up here, and it's even more comfortable. This thing is amazing in hand. And that's one thing I loved about the whippersnapper. And it was just a little too small, and this is like perfect, right? Ergos are absolutely on point. Ergos on the flipper tab, they're jimped. It's jimped very well. I just don't like how big it is, and we'll get to that in action. Cutting, phenomenal. I mean, it's got a flat grind, but it's a decently tall blade. Comes down to a good edge. It's thin, and it's sharp as hell. Again, this could be a Jared Neve edge, so I'm not positive. But, man, the way this feels in hand and the way they did the grind, it's just incredibly comfortable and enjoyable to cut with. And that's what you want, right? It's got a great blade shape. I love a sheep's foot. It's got a little belly to it, but mostly flat. So it's going to be really good for everything I do. It cut shipping labels like a beast. This thing went through, I think it was like 4 or 5 labels with one push. You get a good amount of pressure behind the cut. You can kind of climb up and pinch it at the top if you want to do real precision stuff. You can back up, do it like this, like I would. You can do the full grip. You can do the back grip if you're slaying dragons. I mean, you just have a lot of options with this damn thing. It's a really cool knife. I dig it. Carry, you have this milled clip. Again, you can move it a little bit, but I haven't tried tightening that. And they need to learn their lesson with that. I don't know why they haven't fixed it by now, but whatever. It does have, it's pretty tight, but it goes in pocket well. And it comes out of pocket well. These relief cuts somehow don't get in the way. I thought it would. I don't know why companies don't put those on the inside, but it is what it is. Yeah, carry's good. It's not heavy because of the speed holds. I mean, it's just a normal sort of weight. I wouldn't say it's light either, but it's got a little bit of milling in there on both sides, so they definitely tried to lighten it up a little bit. And it's not a super large knife, so it's fine. Size-wise, real quick, here's the Royale with cheese. And here is the Ferroforge Stinger. So it's about in that range, blade length-wise, 3 1/4, 3.3, something like that. It's a little longer than both of those, but that's because of the way it's designed with the choil like that. Yeah. Let's carry sounds. Ugh. There you go. I don't know if it's because of the holes or the coating or what, but it doesn't have a big thwack to it. You can get it to thwack out with the front flipper, but it's just kind of hard. Doesn't have much on retraction either, but it's okay. It's a 5 out of 10 in terms of acoustics, I would say. Action. So here's the thing. The reason I don't like this knife, the reason I wouldn't pick one up, because if it had a couple of changes, it would probably be a knife I had to get. I just love the looks. I love the ergos, and I love the blade, right? Now, I wouldn't want it coated, but I would buy one with the coated blade if I had to. But this flipper tab is just way too big. It causes me so many problems trying to flip it. My hand wants to be up here, and you go to flip it, and it just hits me every time. You have to be all the way, let's see, you have to be all the way here. You have to be here or lower when operating this knife, which means I have to climb up from the bottom like this, and then I just don't feel like I get the amount of momentum that I need, right? And I feel like I'm kind of slipping, honestly. So it just feels weird. Now, right-handed, somehow, it's not really better, to be honest. I just haven't done it much. So it's kind of like you flip it, and then when you disengage it, you kind of like lift this finger off so that, because that's the other problem. Closing it, I'm holding the knife, close it, and this finger catches on the flipper tab every time, right? So it's almost better left-handed, but then you got the same problem left-handed. You got to avoid this flipper tab. You're always avoiding this damn flipper tab. Whereas my normal grip, if I wanted to pick it up and rip it, would be right here. I'd want to grip it and rip it. But what happens is I pinch my damn finger every time. So I don't like that. Left-handed reverse flick, my natural position right here. Right on the lock bar. Can't get it. So I have to climb up here to the pivot to do it. Or I have to climb down here to the bottom of the hole and do it. So when you see people doing reviews of this and they say it works left-handed, right? They're just putting their finger up on the pivot like this. But that's not really comfortable. That's not where you would want to be. It works left-handed, but it's not good left-handed, if that makes sense. Whereas right-handed, natural positioning right here, right? Whereas if you flip that over, you'd be right on the lock bar and it would suck. So this knife is better right-handed, obviously, carry-wise, action-wise, all that. And this flipper tab is just too damn big. It is incredible on the close. Like, the action it has is really good. The detent is dialed spot on, and the closing action, phenomenal. And that's all with no anything. Well, now it's loose, but it wasn't a minute ago. Yeah, so it kind of bugs me. That's why I wouldn't buy one. If they made one that was a full bolster lock, sort of like a full bolster, and then, you know what I mean, like a traditional bolster lock. Or they did a inset lock or a subframe lock or something, I would love this knife. And then if they shrunk that flipper tab, which apparently they are doing, is shrinking that flipper tab. So those are all good things. So it's definitely a cool knife. If you're right-handed, hell yes, buy one of these. If you're okay with the flipper tab, because that could still bug you. So that's the Miguron Keryx, the Civivi Perf shit stain, the TwoSun TS300, and the Urban EDC Nessie. Sorry, this was supposed to be rapid reviews, and it took 45 minutes. I love you guys. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic day, and I will catch you later.